Imagine you are a United States Marine. It is January 14th, 2016. You are flying through the night sky off the coast of Hawaii in one of the most powerful helicopters ever created. You trust this machine with your life, but suddenly, something goes horribly wrong. Two massive helicopters collide in the darkness. 12 Marines lose their lives in an instant. The investigation that followed didn't just point to human error. It exposed a dark, terrifying secret about the aircraft itself. It revealed a fleet that was completely exhausted, falling apart from the inside out and held together by duct tape and desperate mechanics. This is the CH-53E Super Stallion. The military calls it the Hurricane Maker. The crews who fly it call it something else, the Death Star, or simply the Shitter, because it constantly rains hydraulic fluid on anyone sitting inside. For decades, this three-engine monster was the pride of the American military. But today, it has become a taxpayer nightmare. It requires an unbelievable 44 hours of maintenance for every single hour of flight. Why is the Pentagon still forcing pilots to fly a 40-year-old flying coffin? And why did the only other country that bought it throw it in the trash? Welcome back to Elevon, where we dive deep into the triumphs and the absolute failures of military aviation. If you want to know the dark truth behind the machines that rule the skies, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's get into it. To understand the downfall of the Super Stallion, we have to go back to the beginning. The year is 1971. The U.S. Navy and Marine Corps had a problem. They needed a heavy-lift helicopter, something that could pick up heavy artillery, light armored vehicles, and even other crashed aircraft, and carry them from a ship to the shore. They turned to Sikorsky Aircraft, the legendary company that practically invented the modern helicopter. Sikorsky took their existing CH-53E Stallion and said, "Let's put it on steroids." They added a third General Electric T-64 engine. They added a seventh rotor blade. And they made it massive. On March 1st, 1974, the CH-53E took its first flight. By 1981, it officially entered service. When it rolled out, it was an absolute marvel of engineering. It weighed over 73,000 pounds fully loaded. It could lift 32,000 pounds of cargo. The Pentagon was so impressed that they ordered over 150 of these beasts for the Marines, plus a few dozen more for the Navy. At the time, it felt like America had built an unstoppable flying fortress, and for a long time, the Super Stallion proved its worth. It wasn't a failure from day one. In fact, it was a hero. During Operation Desert Storm in 1991, these helicopters were the absolute backbone of the U.S. Marine Corps. When a multi-million-dollar fighter jet crashed in the desert, you couldn't just leave it for the enemy. The Marines would send in the Super Stallion. It would fly in, hover over the wreckage, hook up an entire F-15 fighter jet, and lift it right out of the sand. No other helicopter in the Western world could do that. In 1991, during Operation Eastern Exit in Somalia, Super Stallions launched from ships floating hundreds of miles away in the middle of the night to evacuate the American embassy in Mogadishu. It was flawless, it was strong, it was fast, and it was getting the job done. But there was a catch. Military hardware ages, and when a machine this complex gets old, it gets dangerous. Now, you might be wondering, if it was so great, who else bought it? The answer is, almost nobody. This machine was so incredibly expensive and complex that the entire world looked at it and said, "No thanks," except for one country, Japan. The Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force bought 11 of the mine-sweeping variants, known as the CH-53E Sea Dragon. Japan has one of the most well-funded and well-maintained militaries on the planet. But even the Japanese mechanics quickly realized they had made a terrible mistake. The cost to keep these helicopters flying was completely out of control. The vibration from the massive engines was shaking the aircraft apart. Eventually, Japan threw their hands in the air. They retired their entire fleet of Sea Dragons years ago, replacing them with the much more reliable and much cheaper Augusta-Westland AW-101. Japan wanted nothing to do with the Super Stallion anymore. But the United States? The Pentagon didn't have a backup plan. They were stuck with it. Which brings us to the dark reality of flying the CH-53E today. Let's talk about the money. Right now, it costs the American taxpayer roughly $20,000 to $25,000 for every single hour this helicopter spends in the air. But the real crisis is the maintenance. Remember that number I mentioned at the start? 44 hours. For every 1 hour of flight time, an exhausted crew of young Marines has to spend 44 hours inspecting, repairing, and fixing this helicopter. And they are doing it blind. Sikorsky stopped manufacturing many of the replacement parts decades ago. So, what do the Marines do when a vital pump or a sensor breaks? They practice something called cannibalization. They walk over to another broken Super Stallion sitting in the hangar, rip the part out of it, and shove it into the helicopter they need to fly today. It is a completely unsustainable cycle. By 2016, an independent investigation found that out of the 146 Super Stallions the Marines owned, only 43 of them were actually safe to fly. Let me repeat that. Less than a third of the entire fleet was operational. When you force mechanics to cannibalize a 40-year-old aircraft, people die. One of the biggest flaws in the Super Stallion is its wiring. In the 1970s, aerospace companies loved using a type of wire coating called Kapton. It was lightweight. But what they didn't know back then is that as Kapton ages, it becomes brittle. It cracks. And when it cracks near a helicopter that is famous for leaking highly flammable hydraulic fluid, you get catastrophic fires. In 2014, a Super Stallion crashed off the coast of Norfolk, Virginia, killing 3 crew members. Then came the tragic 2016 collision in Hawaii that killed 12 Marines. And the disasters weren't just in the air. In 2017, a massive window from a Super Stallion actually fell out of the sky and crashed into a primary school playground in Okinawa, Japan. The helicopter was literally shedding parts over populated civilian areas. The U.S. military had pushed the airframe past its breaking point. So, what is the final verdict on the Super Stallion? After 4 decades of heavy lifting, brutal maintenance, and tragic losses, the Marines are finally replacing this exhausted beast. Its successor is the brand-new CH-53K King Stallion. Sikorsky designed the King to fix the 44-hour maintenance curse of the older model, making it more powerful and supposedly much easier to repair. But that upgrade comes at a terrifying cost. Each new King Stallion has a price tag of over $130 million. That means replacing the old Hurricane Maker is costing the American taxpayer more per helicopter than buying a brand new F-35 stealth fighter. The story of the CH-53E is a classic example of American military endurance, pushing a legendary machine far beyond its breaking point until it literally started falling apart. But what happens when another superpower tries to build the ultimate high-tech helicopter, and it completely backfires? Imagine designing an attack helicopter so advanced that it even features a first-of-its-kind ejection seat for its pilots, only to watch it get absolutely shredded in a real modern war. If you want to know how Russia's most advanced combat helicopter became a complete disaster, click the info card icon in the top right corner of the screen right now to watch that video. And before you go, I want to hear from you. Should the U.S. military have retired the Super Stallion 20 years ago, or was it worth keeping alive despite the danger? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If you loved this deep dive, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Elevon for more untold aviation stories. Until next time, keep looking up